Okay.
All right.
Oh, we're back at it.
I
So,
know.
I'm like falling off my chair. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's go. Let's talk about this topic because you know what?
Tell me. Tell me.
So, yeah, so this YouTuber is a YouTuber that you follow. I mean, I don't really follow them too closely, but I know who they are. I
Mhm.
don't know if you want to mention any names. I don't. But I mean, I didn't follow them too closely, but I know that they've been together for a while because I remember when they got married and they had a bunch. I didn't even know she had that many kids by now. But
Mhm.
yeah, so
So, okay. So, yeah, I don't mind, I don't mind mentioning the YouTuber. It's the YouTuber's LaToya Forever. And this week they announced her and her husband Adam announced that they were getting a divorce. And the thing is that me and a few of my friends have been watching for a little bit because we're like, yo, where is Adam on all of LaToya? You like they had unfollowed each other. They weren't posting each other's video, posting in each other's social media. And the thing is that they're married and they live together and they have their businesses together. And even back to Mother's Day back in May, Adam didn't post anything about LaToya, and me and my sister-in-law was just like, "Yo, what's going on? Oh my God! Like, what's
mhm,
going on? I hope we hope they figure it out because, even a few months ago, Jamie and Nikki, other YouTubers, they had announced that they were divorced too. And the reason why this is even a topic is because you and I are YouTubers, many small YouTubers, and so I pay attention to what's happening in the space, and I have my own favorite YouTubers. You know what I mean? And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's Jamie and Nikki, and they're, they divorced. They're the Australian couple, and Nikki is the sister to Ducky, and Ducky's a big time model here in New York. And they divorced, and then all of a sudden, LaToya and Adam was starting to look sketch, and we're like, oh my God, please pull it together. You have 3 kids,
Right.
moved from Canada to Atlanta.
Oh, well,
You
they're from Canada. I thought they were from New York.
they're from Canada. LaToya's from Trinidad. Adam's from Tanzania. They met in Canada. Yeah, they met in
He's
Canada.
he looks. I was
Yes.
gonna say he looks like one of those like half Arab, half black that you get in East Africa.
And that's precisely what he is.
Oh my gosh.
Started out, and LaToya was the big comedic presence on YouTube. And then she got pregnant. Shameless Maya announced he was helping her announce that she was pregnant years ago with her first
Yeah.
baby.
Love
And her
Shameless
mom
Maya.
got married. They get married. They lived in Canada, had more babies. Decided to move to the U.S. to a big time Atlanta because Atlanta's Black Mecca popping. Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever. And they moved away from the family, which was a little bit of a red flag for me. But anyway, because they were so ingrained in the family life in Canada, and I know how the U.S. is on Black people and on relationships. It is very competitive. It's very hard. It is not an easy climate to hold a family together in the United
Right.
States, especially a Black family, because that is what the system is designed to do, to shred families. And people might not
Mm.
get that. They might not understand that. They just see divorce rate is bad and they don't know why. It is a systematic attack on families that Black people feel as a minority in the country, because anything that's happening, that's bad, it impacts minority communities heavier than it does the predominant community. So
Mhm.
that is why we have such high divorce rates and everything like that, is because it's intentional. A dysfunctional family can easily be manipulated into doing what capitalistic, slave, you know, slavery type work. It's easy to do that when your family is not intact. So when she moved here, I was like, Lord, please help LaToya them understand that America is a beast. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
people talk about it and they don't get it and they don't even understand it. They're just living it and don't really know the underlying reasons. So anyway, but we know that as immigrants, because when you come to this country, you have to be prepared. Some of us
Mhm.
know it. Have to be prepared for the new paradigm you're living under. And so most people
Yeah.
see, everybody looks good and everybody look like they got money, but they don't know what really kind of tyranny and terror we kind of are under here. But anyway, so they announced that they were getting divorced, and we were like, yo, this is like, seriously, like, this is sad and it kind of sucks. And it was just, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit, just as a reminder that everybody's relationship is going through it right now, like everybody's. And so it really is about, what is your relationship asking from you now? And are you able to evolve it to something that can sustain this amount of pressure? You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of pressure, you know what I mean? And so I'm sad to see them like that, especially because their youngest baby is not even 6 months yet, you know? And
I
they're
mean, the pressures that everyone's talking about, I always want to understand,
mm-hmm,
because for me, it's like, okay, everybody's quarantined,
mm-hmm,
so you're stuck in a house with your wife and your kids.
mm-hmm.
What's the problem?
Yeah. What you think the
I
problem is?
mean, Noah was stuck in that boat with his wife and kids.
What you think the problem is?
Because I look at it and I'm like, so what? Like, do you guys not get along? And is that maybe you guys don't get along because the person that you love, if that's your bestie, think about it. If you're in a relationship with someone that's your best friend, you always want to talk to your best friend. You always want to hang out with your best friend. You want to, even if you're sitting in a room just quiet, like you just want to be around their presence. So to me, I'm like, is this just showing you guys what's already been there and you guys have just been covering up? And now you've been forced to spend 3 solid months with this person and you're like, I can't stand you. I prefer it when you're not here, when you're away, when you're on business, when you're at work, and I only have to see you 5 6 hours of the day. I don't have to deal with you. Now I'm seeing you 24 hours. You're always home, you're always here, just breathing and eating and just always taking up space.
Mm-hmm,
So to me, I'm like,
mm-hmm.
I mean, don't blame Corona, okay? Don't blame Auntie Corona if it's just the
Dude,
different,
which one is
the,
it? Yeah.
the dysfunctional, like your relationship is just dysfunctional. And now because you've been forced to spend so much time with them, you're just like, I don't like you, and I've been with you for 10 years.
I'm gonna bring it back to the what we talked about at the top of this when we were talking about cute American guys and cute and all of this, and I told you that this is all smoke and mirrors, and this
I
is
mean, he is cute, so.
you know, and this is the land of Hollywood. And what happens is that people are chasing what they see on television. You know what I mean? Thinking that and not understanding what the reality of it. It goes back to the same, not cancel culture. It goes back to the same quitting culture. People are
Mm,
thinking that it's this beautiful, glimmery Hollywood persona picture of what, and they don't know what they don't know what what it really takes, and they're not, and when they do get a glimpse of what it really takes or what it really is, they bounce, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I'm not saying, and let me be very clear, I'm not saying that that's what's happened with LaToya, and I'm not saying that I know anything having to do with what's in their relationship, but generally people think that, oh, I should, the cute one and it's gonna be fun, but then when you really have to wipe them baby ass, you got 3 babies crying, you got to wipe that behind 4 or 5 times a day, and here come,
Yep.
your wife, husband is, you don't really like them, and now you're stuck in the house with them, and now your life is on the line because of COVID and Corona, and you thought it was going to be all that, you thought all that glitters was gold. And now you in the house, you can't stand them, you don't know yourself, you're going through a spiritual awakening, is so many things happening that you can't hold it together, you know what I mean? And this time is
Mm,
you evolve your understanding of love, your understanding of commitment, your understanding of what a good partner actually is. Hello,
okay.
what we thought, that you thought the internet thought was gonna be a good wife. You thought because she was cute and then her fashion nova, and then that was your wife, and then now you in here with coronavirus, and you guys can't stand each other. You have
Mm,
to evolve, what your understanding of love, relationships, commitment, a partnership is. You know, one of the things Adam mentioned in the video, and LaToya put out a statement. So it was a written statement. It was very well worded and respectful. Adam put
mm,
out a video, and I do feel like the video was respectful. It didn't feel like sus, or it didn't feel like
mm.
let me kick somebody while they were down. It didn't feel
But
like
he said
that.
a lot in that
But
video. I watched the video. You sent it to me. He said a lot.
he said a lot, right? So
He said a lot.
what stood out? What was the part of it that you were like,
So when what he was talking about the spiritual awakening and this and that, yeah. So this is what in the church they call unequally yoked, whereby you guys are not on the same wavelength when it comes to spirituality. It could be that you believe this and she believes that, and then you guys always just thought, oh, it doesn't matter, we could always make it work, and this and that. But now it's like 10, however many years later, and you're realizing you're now taking your spiritual work really seriously, but she doesn't believe in that, and it bothers you on a deep level. But you probably knew that from the beginning, that you guys weren't on the same path spiritually anyway.
Said that. He said there was enough red flags from the beginning that he was trying to sweep under the rug to try to, and I know she felt it too. It's not if you feel it, they feel it. And that's what I don't think people understand about the connection of human beings. You can feel things without them being spoken. And if you feel
it's irresponsible of him to do that, for you to see red flags from 10 years ago and pop up 3 kids with a woman and then leave now. It's just it's not right. And this
right.
is why people talk about it's easier for a man to walk away from a family than a woman to walk away from a family. If you saw those red flags in 2010, you should have pressed break in 2010. It's now 2020 and you're 3
after
kids
the
in.
first Right. After the first kid, okay. Because, all right, the first kid, okay, got it. But 3 children, the last baby is not 6 months, So, I don't know.
Black men, let's do better. Okay, let's do better.
Here's the thing. It's it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to tango. So I don't know what, I was saying, girl, you guys have to figure out a way how to hold it together. But to me, I'm just like, that's not the everybody here is like, I'm ready to bounce. I could do it on my own. 6 months is not a red carpet. I'm not here for it, and so, I encourage everybody.
He didn't bounce in 6 months. He bounced in like
the
10,
last
15 years.
And you have 3 kids, anyway. So
I mean, do you know what? I don't know if it's just the culture, but I think, because I've heard something similar like this with another black guy who was dating a woman for 5 years. He got married to her. Within a year, they separated. And I said to him, I was like, why did you separate within a year? And he said he knew from the jump he should have never married her, because his feelings for her was not like that. It wasn't that deep. But he married her because we've been together for so long, kind of thing. It's like the next step to do. You've been dating her for 5 years, either marry her or let her go. So he married her, but then a year in, he separated. And then within that separation, they weren't trying to reconcile. They wasn't trying to see a counselor or anything like that. He just sort of like let it go. So she filed for divorce because she felt like we're not doing anything to help the relationship. And I just said to myself, like, do you understand that you put yourself through so much? You could have just easily broken up with her when she was just your girlfriend. But you went and paid $50K for a wedding. Everybody came up with their best dress and their big hats. Okay, like, I was like, I'm lucky I didn't go to your wedding, because you would have to give me my present back. You would have to return that gift, that microwave, you have to bring it back. Because you have the audacity to just be married for a damn year. You bring back my microwave.
So
and then
what's the problem? Are we marrying
never
for
loved
vanity?
her. He never loved her.
Are we marrying for vanity? Do we not know what we're looking for? Why would you, is it vanity? What are you marrying?
That's what he said. He was actually candid. He was like, it was attention, because he said they had a big wedding and people still talk about their wedding. And this me, a big wedding don't mean nothing if you're divorced a year later. You just wasted money. That catering company made a good bit of money from you. That venue made a good bit of money from you. But here you are today, you're heartbroken, you're jaded, you're not sure about a relationship because you should have ended something 6 years ago and you kept going. I'm like, you guys didn't have a kid, but I think this is the same thing with this guy, Adam. It's like, you saw red flags a long time ago when she was probably your girlfriend, but you didn't end it. Maybe it was she was popping off on YouTube, you guys were getting recognized and this and that, and you were loving the attention, girls were hitting you up, like, what's good, Tanzanian? And you was loving it. You was loving it. All them girls from all over the world were paying you attention, and because you were getting this attention from her fans and whatnot. And you loved it. You guys were able to move around, you got a bigger house, a nicer car, go to better vacations. Now you're over it. You know what? Because your love was never there. The love was never there, and you knew from the jump she wasn't the woman for you. But for you to then break up with 3 kids and however many years later, I personally think it's absolutely
It's
wrong.
been, hmm 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 So let me
I
ask you, you think that, do you think, I'm trying to understand if both of the parties in the relationship recognize that feeling of unequally yoked, or yo, we probably
hmm
shouldn't. Yo, both of you guys knew that, right? But for some reason, everybody's like, going ahead with the whole charade. Why?
I think also it's with his story, I would say because they're in the public eye, they're giving off that young black couple making it, living that life, and they were doing it. So
Different.
they were trying to continue that. This is why YouTube family vlogs, people need to stop that because a lot of them end in disaster. Okay, stop putting your children on the internet like that as well. It's not cute to see your mom and dad's marriage break down in front of the world as well. Think about how this is going to affect your son, your daughter 20 years from now to watch all of that play out and the weird body language, and then all of a sudden daddy's not in the vlogs anymore. It's just weird. Don't do that to your children. But I think they were doing that whole young black successful couple, and but you were faking the funk for like a 10 years, 20 years. You're faking the funk. Don't
And
do
you're
it. Live your true life. If you don't want to be with that person, don't be with them. You're not in prison, but don't wait to have children because now you've added children to the melee, and it's just too messy now.
hmm because
You
it's
know?
not just them now. Now you have three souls, three lives that now you've started off in a disarray.
Yeah.
How are you ever going to recover that? Like, how do you recover that kind of, you know what I mean, chaos that have been created not only in, well, a bird just flew right there, not only in your life and the partner's life, but then the children's lives as well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I understood, to be frank, I understood what Adam did the video. So I understood, he presented his case very
Mm.
straightforward and very clear, and I understood it. So I was like, I feel you, bruh. But on the other side of it, the quitting culture, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I'm a bounce because, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. But here's the deal. I knew as soon as we started getting locked down in COVID and being barricaded in the house with under this much pressure, I said divorce rates spiking immediately because I know that a lot of relationships that I get the
Mm.
sense the relationship of convenience. And I'm like, oh, you ran to get married because you didn't want to be alone, or because there's this perception that if you are single something is wrong with you. But watch what's going to happen when you really when you really get in a pressure cooker and now you have to perform alongside this person that was just a marriage of convenience, you know.
Boy.
And so and I don't, sometimes I'm reluctant to talk about it because it's like, oh, are you being a hater, or are you talking out of turn like you don't really know the situation?
That's
I
how
grew
I
up,
always feel.
you know what I mean? I grew up in a marriage. I know what it takes. I know what
Mm.
it takes. And when I tell you that growing up in a marriage is a freaking, it is not easy. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have that firsthand experience of what it really takes to hold a marriage together. You know what I mean? And it's just like holding a job together or doing stuff. Sometimes you're doing stuff that you're like, yo, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're still holding it together because there's a greater purpose. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that greater purpose, then it's real easy to let it go. You know what I mean? And or if that purpose is not meaningful enough to you, the wholeness with which your children grow in, if that's not important enough to you to hold it together, you know, it sucks. It
Or
sucks.
don't have children with someone that you're with and you're seeing red flags. That's like I think it's so irresponsible the way people bring children into the world. Even the
Yeah.
way I was brought into the world, like I hate the fact that my mom didn't plan me. It was like, ah, I'm pregnant, and it's like that's just so wrong. And like you're in a relationship with someone that is toxic. The relationship shouldn't go on, and here you are popping out one kid, two kids, three kids. I just feel like it's so wrong. You're bringing children into like war, basically. You think your kids are not gonna feel the energy? You think they're not gonna hear them parents talking badly? Don't you think it's gonna be weird if mom lives in Atlanta, dad lives in New York, or dad lives in Kansas? It's like people don't think that far ahead. They just have a bunch of children, just having them. Like a child isn't an accessory. It's not a handbag. You can't return the child like them white YouTubers returning that Chinese kid, but that's another story for another day. Um, like we shouldn't even laugh. They were completely out of order. But um, but this is how people are having children. So many people I know around my age have had kids, and I'm like, none of these kids are planned. All these kids just popped up.
Mm.
Boom, she's pregnant. You know, I'm gonna tell you right. I even dated a guy who had 3 kids. I mean, I'm the kind of girl that I don't even look at a guy who has 1 kid. He had 3 kids. I mean, but he
How,
was good looking though. He looked good though. I'm not gonna lie, he was very
there you go
handsome.
with cute. There you go. You see, your cute is gonna get you be a 4th baby mama. Okay, go ahead,
So
date
bad.
date future if you want to. But like, girl, what are you doing with 3? What is it? How many mamas did he have? 3, 3
He
baby.
had 1 baby mama. He had 1 baby mama, but the story behind it, it was a woman that he met when he went to university. So he was like his first love and this, that, and the third. Then they were like, oh, you know, they were together. And he was like, oh, when we get to a certain age, we're going to get married. Then before they got to that age, she just basically decided to come off birth control and then she got pregnant. When he asked her, she said, oh, I'm ready to have a child right now. I was like, oh, okay, so it's her decision, I guess. So they had the first kid. Then a couple years later, they had a second kid. And he was like, I thought you were going to wait until we get married. And then she said, oh, I don't want my kid to be an only child and I want him to be in close, like close in age with the sibling. Oh, okay. Then he stayed. I was like, she's already showing you that you can't trust her, but you're staying. So you're making yourself look really silly. Then they had a third kid. And I'm just like, so what's this kid? To
Yeah.
be the backup dancer to the other first kids or something because I didn't understand. And then after all of that, she then broke up with him and basically was like, I don't want to be with you.
Well, I
And I was
guess she
like,
got by the same baby daddy, so nobody can talk about her.
I think she just wanted to have kids and she just wanted one dad. That's
Yes,
it. Cause,
yeah,
and then
and maybe
she
it
just
was
got rid of him.
thing with the cuteness because it's like, oh, you cute, but you didn't have enough sense to know what the heck was going on, right?
No, he
So I
didn't.
mean, I mean, anyway, it's easy to talk about. It's definitely different when you're in it and you have to navigate, this kind of craziness of relationships and marriage and children and all of that. I do recognize that, but certain things it's kind of like like really guys, like how we've seen we've seen some of the mistakes of the generations above
Yeah.
us. How do we now do we continue to do the same sins of our fathers, or do we make a different decision? You know what I mean? And it takes some reflection and awareness for that. Like nobody's asking you to be perfect, but we are asking you to
Yeah.
and pay attention to what's happening and not blindly do stuff and then be like, well, I didn't know. Yes, you did know. You didn't know. You didn't know. Of course you knew. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
So
of course. I hate that whole, like when men
hostile.
behave as if it happened to them. It's like you were in the relationship. So what's going on? Are you on autopilot? It didn't happen to you. You chose for it to happen. You know what I mean? Like if you knew that this was such a big issue, you should have said something. You always have the option to walk away. But once you've got children, you have to really look at your steps because I personally, that video that Adam did, I personally, yes, I thought it was insightful, but if I was his daughter and I was seeing this, I would not appreciate you talking about your relationship with my mother on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But then I wouldn't appreciate being this little kid in a diaper on the internet either.
So you see, the whole life is that way. So it's really not. It only made sense, like once you start down that path, of overexposure on the internet, it's really hard to turn back, especially when your livelihood is tied to it. You know what I mean? And I think
Hmm.
that was challenging in the relationship is that this concept that entrepreneur, and I wanted to talk about this too, the concept that being an entrepreneur is so easy and so coveted, right? And
Hmm.
being alone was like, oh, I don't want a 9 to 5 dude, I want an entrepreneur, I want a hustler. And I'm like, I'm sure you do, but again, I don't think you guys know what it really really takes to be in that space. You're looking at it through a glorified rose colored glasses
That's it.
media, but when it comes down to your livelihood is tied to how fast you as an individual can run,
Hmm.
it's very challenging. And so to be in a marriage where not only are you married and you're on social media overexposed, your entire livelihood is tied to the businesses that you create on your own back. You move away from your family. You have a bunch of kids, you're young, your vanity and, your self, reflection of yourself is always in jeopardy because of the social media lifestyle. You probably have groupies pulling at Adam, pulling at, everybody saying, man, Adam did, or LaToya this, or it just creates this perfect storm that is like really challenging to navigate, you know what I mean? But be realistic. Entrepreneurship and hustling, is hard. It's not easy. It's easier to do somebody else's job, you know what I mean, and navigate the money so that you can have your investments on the side and then pivot your career away from the 9 to 5 into the real estate investments or into the market or however you navigate your money, than it is to go out and sell lipsticks and some t-shirts and some workout waist trainers thinking that you're some big, entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Because if you're not on the internet promoting them waist trainers and promoting that lip gloss, they're not good from China, they're not going to sell, and then
No shade.
And you won't eat, you know what I mean? So, and then that's going to affect your relationships, you know what I mean? And so, you're always going to be chasing the next thing, a workout video, you know what I mean? So and I say that to say, because I kind of want to pivot the conversation, is like, don't down 9 to 5, don't down a corporate career.
Do you know what? Yeah, with the whole V Simone thing, I mean, I watched so many videos of people talking about her, and I genuinely like V Simone. I do follow her on Instagram. I don't follow her, her book that she wrote, and I don't do.
Rise most of it.
But for me, it's like I don't take her seriously as an author.
Correct. Chapters out the book was whole straight copy and paste from other people's content.
I mean, I saw like the inside of the book, and the paper quality was not even good enough, so I wouldn't even, But I liked her energy, and I liked how bubbly she was, in the way that she would just sort of make fun of herself. I thought that was really, really cute and everything.
Yeah.
But when she said she doesn't want a guy working a 9 to 5, and then she said she wants a guy that's an entrepreneur. And she said something about, oh, a guy who's an entrepreneur, you could be like, oh, let's go to New York tomorrow. They're going to New York. Let's go to Houston. You go to Houston. And I was like, I don't know any entrepreneur who's like that. I don't know anybody who owns a business that just wakes up and goes to New York randomly. Like, you've got things to do. Your business is your whole life. You've got people behind you. If you slack, the whole company slacks. So you can never slack. I know entrepreneurs who've never been on vacation for the past like 2-3 years because they're grinding. They're still trying to do, make their businesses work. You think an entrepreneur is just gonna wake up one day and he's Larry Ellis or he's Steve Jobs? It's like, no, like those guys,
those are whoever. No.
They made it, especially if he's a black man. So he's going against so many things. He's not gonna have the time for him to just wake up and say, I'm going to go to New York for the sake of it. Most entrepreneurs, they really watch their pennies. They really watch how they spend it, because they're really trying to reinvest into their business. So when she said that, it came across very young and very naive, and I'm like, if you come across successful men, one thing successful men don't ever have is time.
Right.
They don't ever, even the ones that work for other people, when they're at the top of the ladder, they don't have time. It's like constant meeting, constant this. They're constantly working. They're constantly reading. They're constantly edifying themselves. They have to be on top of their game. So when she said that, I was like, she sounded like she wanted a drug dealer, because only a drug dealer has loads of money and loads of time.
Yes, those two things are not, you cannot have loads of money. Those things are like polar opposites. Loads of free time, loads of money. Unless you a dope dealer, unless you a dope boy in these streets, you know what I mean? Like, the only way you could do that is if you build residual income streams, like we're saying in the comments. You can get the money how you get it how you live, but you have to flip money into something that gives you residual income, like real estate, that would allow you to free time. But even when you have real estate, like a small multifamily property with like 4 units, you still have to be managing that and overseeing your kingdom. So you still don't have time. So it is what you said, that kind of a little bit of a juvenile under what's real life. I think she liked, I feel like, I'll say on one thing, on both sides. On one side, I'm like, I feel her. You want that hustler, creative, I can get it, I can go get it kind of personality. but it doesn't immediately tie to an entrepreneur and dissociate from a 9 to 5. It's the type of personality that you like, but it's not about how they get their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about how they think about their money. On the other side, I do understand on the other side for her though, is that we are very hypercritical of women's standards, especially Black. If a Black woman says, look, you're gonna have to treat me this type of way, or this is the type of man that I'm looking for, or this is the type of standard that I want in my life or for my mate, it's a problem. Meanwhile, if white women, upper echelon white women, if Asian women, if Latinas, if Indian women, if they're like, no, 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 my family doesn't allow me to marry, you know, that class, I have to be over here or there, everyone's like, okay. But when a Black woman puts her standard forward, she's hyper criticized for it. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what's wrong with dating the mechanic? What's wrong with dating the mailman? Why you can't take the garbage man? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like one side, you know, it's like, okay, I get you, be Simone, but that's a bit of myopic view. But on the other side, you are entitled to your standards. You know what I mean?
I definitely do believe that sometimes Black women are looked down on for having certain standards. But then on the flip side, the girls who date Pookie and Ray Ray, as people say in America, they also get criticized and people say Black women don't have standards. You guys just date any old dude from the neighborhood who doesn't have any type of, you know, goals in life, but just smoking weed, selling drugs, and things like that. But her standard was not a standard because what she was saying was silly. Like what she said was, to me, it was silly because it was just like, have a standard, yes, but your standard sounds like you want to date a guy from the hood that's gonna, oh, he understands my entrepreneurial because I'll be on, you know, emailing at 3 in the morning. Who you emailing? Unless you're emailing someone in China, no one's picking up your email at 3 in the morning.
She's emailing by
And
her lips. China, the shipment.
the only people that are out and about at 3 in the morning are dope dealers anyway. So yeah, you need a dope dealer to understand your life, because that doesn't make sense to me. Because a guy that's a real entrepreneur will understand that you need to sleep well, you need to rest to be able to do business properly. So everything she said to me, I was like, I don't consider what she said a standard. I consider it to be really small thinking, to think that, like, she didn't talk about character, a man that's good with money, a man that's good with his time. Oh, he just, you know, about that life and da 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 da. Let's go to Miami, let's go to New York, let's go to Houston. I'm sending emails at 3 in the morning and he understands that. It's like, first of all, you could be with any guy, okay, and if he understands that you do business at 3 in the morning, he would just understand that. But her to me, I don't classify what B Simone said as a standard that Black women should go for. That's not a standard, because what she was really describing was a dope boy, or just a useless guy who just has money somehow, but he ain't doing nothing for you to really be like, how do you make money? You know, there are guys like that. We all know someone that always has money. How do you make money?
Right.
You're always at home.
And here's the deal, even an athlete, so even if you flip it and you say, okay, well, you're obviously not describing any entrepreneur that either one of us know. And we are career women, so, you know, we know people in business, right? So you're not describing somebody who truly has a real business. So are you, it sounds like you're describing a dope boy. So, okay, but are you describing maybe an athlete, or, you know, and athletes can't do that. If they're flying from city to city, going to play, they are practicing, they are sleeping well, eating well, top physical optimized, you know, mentality to be at the top of their game, and you know, as you said, physically and mentally. So it's like, okay, well, all right, maybe an athlete, but, you know, just trying to bring some reason to trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I think we do need to hold space to give Black people and Black women the benefit of the doubt. We're still learning, we're still growing, we're still understanding what our standards are and what we want, what we don't want, what we have access to, what we don't have access to. So if I gave her the benefit of the doubt and holding space for her to have that standard that she thinks is entrepreneurial, well, so that's not what a real entrepreneur looks like. B Smith, if B Smith, B Simone, whatever, was my little sister, I'm like, okay, sis, so that's not what an entrepreneur looks like. maybe you're talking about an athlete, but the realistic side of an athlete's life is this. Maybe you're talking
Mm,
about I'm trying to figure out who else could kind of be, and I get it. Like when you say entrepreneur, it's supposed to be good with money, ambitious, well connected, uh,
mm,
uh, um, maybe she was like maybe spontaneous, maybe somebody that could teach you something, who can understand and jive with your lifestyle. So I get
right.
that, but those characteristics and they don't automatically tie to entrepreneur. So just trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. It's like, what are you really describing? And
Well, yeah, what are you talking about?
yeah, and dissociate it from or it's like, what are you talking about? Period, sis. You're not
Yeah,
talking.
just get to,
Yeah.
because I do, I do feel like, yeah, black women, definitely, black women have standards, but also recognize this is another thing. Understand that this is something that I've heard someone say. Are you your type's type? Okay. Are you your type's type? Like an intellectual man likes to hold intellectual conversations. If you
Mhm.
can't hold an intellectual conversation, are you your type's type? Okay, a man who's got money maybe likes to eat in certain places, in certain restaurants, and you don't know how to behave in those restaurants. So are you your type's type? You have to ask yourself that question, self-evaluate,
Mhm.
and do some work on it. So you want a guy that's, about that life, you need to be about that life as well. Okay, you need to be about that life. A man that's got money, he's looking for a woman that looks good, that looks classy, whatever he's looking for, be the type that he would look for. Don't
Right.
have a standard and then you yourself can't even reach that standard, because men
Right.
of a certain caliber look at women of a certain caliber as well.
Right. And I feel you on that. Here's the thing that I'm going to say that may sound, and I talk about this on my channel, my YouTube channel a lot. I talk about femininity, because what I think we don't quite get is that when you're in a relationship or when you're in a partner, you can't have two bulls in a china shop. And I'm going to say,
Mhm.
you can't have two bulls in a china shop in a relationship.
Mhm.
To be complementary, yin to the yang, yang to the yin, right? So even if you are a go-getter and an entrepreneur, and a hustler, and you're up at 3 a.m. and you getting it and you all of that, what makes you think that type of man would like that in his as his companion? And likewise, when you're doing all that hustling, what makes you so sure that that's the type of man that you would like too? Because both of you would be doing the exact same things and eventually not have enough time to support each other because there's not enough give in the relationship. That's when I talk about masculinity and femininity. I'm talking about knowing how to interplay with the dominance of your man and the femininity of yourself, and then switching the role time. So sometimes you might be the more dominant one and he has to take a different role. And so I feel like right now, this change that we're going through, just environmentally, it's asking for us to reevaluate, as you said, ourselves. Can you play both roles? Can you play us? Can you lean back and allow somebody else to lead? And can you lean forward and allow somebody else to lean back? And because that's what we're looking for in relationships. In order to flow, is to be able to play both roles and to be a whole individual as you are, not let somebody else be always the firefighter or the leader, or you always the firefighter and the leader, and one of you get burnt out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so be aware that what that your man that you say you want, what he might need to run his empire is might not be what you're. If you're giving the exact same thing that he's giving, it's not. That's not what's going to make the flow. You know what I mean? The in and out, the
Mhm.
interplay relationship. So pay attention to that. You know what I mean? When do you
Yeah.
fall? You lean forward, and what does that look like?
Yes, that's very, very true. And then I think sometimes as well, I think black women are so used to always being the provider that we are uncomfortable with being provided for. Like, sis, if he's trying to pay for that meal, let him pay for that meal.
Run the money. If he's trying to pay, sit, let him pay. Like hold your.
Listen, there's never been a time a guy wants to pay for a meal, and I'm like, no, no, you're paying for the meal, and that's not being a gold digger. But let a man do for you. That's like a way of investing as well. I think a lot of black women were so used, especially someone like my mom. My mom's always been, you know, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. That I saw in her relationships that, she had to be that way because, you know, her ex-husband was an absolute loser on this planet. But, you know, it's just like if she had a good man, she would have fell back and been like, let him take control. Let him take me out to eat. Let him do the things. But she didn't have that. And a lot of us are not used to that. We don't see it in our moms. We didn't even see it in our grandparents, some of us. So when a man wants to do those things, let him do it. Okay? Don't try to be every day
Yeah.
big, you know, big guy. Like let him do it. And it doesn't make you less than, okay, or needy because a guy paid for a meal. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that big.
Yeah.
Man doesn't feel needed. It's like, why am I here if you don't need me? You know what I mean? Because everybody's
Mm-hmm.
needed. You need your mom, you need your dad. You need those both male and female energies. You need those presence in your home. You know, you need that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's something I would say to every black woman out there. You know, fall back sometimes. And if anybody has
Yeah.
questions, comments, this would be the time for you guys to write in your comments and
Yeah.
questions. And Kels, you could be reading some of the comments as well.
Yes, I'm reading them, and even Priv said, you know, it might be hard to unlearn some of these behaviors, but that's why we're locked in the house for the last 3 months, for us to be self-critical and self-evaluating and moving forward in life. Like, if you know that, read a book during this time, like do whatever you need to do to self-evaluate and understand what
Mm-hmm.
behaviors not working for you pre-COVID and what behaviors you want to cultivate now to move you into the different stage of your life post-COVID. Don't take this time lightly. That's my advice to anybody. It's like, don't take this time lightly. Everybody's trying to, you know, everybody's set on ready, trying to run out the door as soon as we're free of this virus.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the that you have to look at what nature is asking for you now. What is it asking you? We're all stuck in the house. What you think you're supposed to be in here in the house getting fat like me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just eating everything. You're not supposed to only be eating everything. Read, feed your mind as well. Like, you know,
Mm.
do and unlearn some of these unhealthy patterns. At least take the time to ask yourself, are there any unhealthy patterns that I'm not recognizing? So you might not know. No one's expecting you to be a genius and be like, damn, this is exactly what's wrong. No, but you can ask yourself the question and wait for the answer to come to you. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, what could I be looking at in myself? Like, what am I, is there something that I'm getting that I shouldn't get, or that I'm not understanding about the dynamics of a
Yeah.
relationship, the dynamics of love, or the role of a woman in society? I feel like a lot of us women feel like our role is to be the workhorse, is to be some sort of workhorse that is providing and bringing in just as much or more than a man, to prove that you're valuable to society. But you have to understand the innate value in your femininity and in what it is to be a woman. And that likewise for a man. Some of these men out here don't even know the reason why they're running to marriages and leaving after 3 children, or the reason why they see red flags and they don't bounce at the very front beginning of it, is because they don't know what, you know what I mean? They don't know what the true value of a woman is. So they're thinking that, oh, well, if she's on YouTube and she's popular, then that's valuable. Or if she's pretty, then that's valuable. So I should be happy with that. That is not, you have to understand and start to ask yourself the questions, well, what's a true value of a masculine? And what's the true value of a feminine? And if you're that doesn't mean you're in a heterosexual relationship. If you're in a homosexual relationship, if you're in a LGBTQ XYZ elemental P relationship, there is going to be an interplay between femininity and masculinity. And what is the
Mm.
value of masculinity in a relationship? And what is the value of the femininity in the relationship? And hold space for both of those so that you both can evolve, you know, through
Right.
that. You know? And I think all of us are sitting here thinking that, oh, if I'm a go-getter hustler, then that's my value as a woman. You know, I'm bringing in bags too, you know, when I'm saying that's not your value. That might not be your value in a
They
relationship.
don't need to be competition in the relationship. You know, it's
Right.
all about
I saw
compliment.
two bulls in a pen can mix. You know what I mean? It means
Yeah.
that two bulls in a china shop don't make for a good, you know, don't make for a good situation. So those are the questions that we have to ask, you know, collectively. Is like, what's the value here? What's the true value? What am I really looking for in this relationship? So you don't end up like, you know, said YouTubers divorced after, you know, 9 years, saying that you were unequally yoked from the beginning, and you knew it, but you didn't know what you were looking for or what was valuable, so you kept going, you know.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So I don't see any questions.
I see you guys talking in here though. John Max
Yes, we
said
see you, Black Rose.
Jean Max said the woman's only allowed to pay on his birthday for dinner.
Yeah, with your credit card.
I know, because that's what I'm thinking. I'll be like, I'll book the reservation. I will all that, but at the end of the night, you know, and honestly, I'm used to that. And I one time I made a video on YouTube about even platonic relationships. Even when I just go out with my male friends, most of them, they would never even let you pay, you know, especially if it's just you and them, you know, they usually don't make you pay. And in London it was a little bit different, but in the US there is that slight chivalry, and I don't know if it's just what I cultivate with my relationships,
No,
but
they're cheap over here in London. They're very cheap over here.
I feel that though, they be cheap, they be real stingy,
Real cheap over here in London.
you know. And it's so funny because they be trying to talk to you and I'm like, bro, you're not chivalrous enough for me. What do you
Like,
mean?
where's
What
the
do you
drink?
I'm thirsty. You know what I mean? Like, what the? So, you know, so I get it. Like, I get it. But even with my friends, like, they're very chivalrous. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean, you know, like sometimes you give in different ways. But in terms of holding space for, like, I got this, chill, relax, be soft, be in your feminine. I like men like that. You know what I mean? And so I have friends like that, and have had relationships like that too. So
Yeah. So there's a question there.
yes, what's the question? What are we saying? What are we asking? Have you been on a date in which the man expected you to pick up the tab? No.
In cheap
No.
London, in these cheap streets of London, I've been on one, and
Yes.
I told my mom about it, and then she told me, never in your life should you ever do that again, and I've never
Yes.
done it again.
Wait, okay, sorry. One thing. It wasn't a date. It was a friend. I'm sorry, but people criticize me for this. It wasn't a date. It was a friend. It was friends. And he had come into town and he was like, "Oh, I'm in town. Can you meet me at blah, 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 blah?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, cool." And then after it, he was moving funny because I didn't even know what was happening. You know what I mean? I was just like regular, you know, regular. But when it was, I noticed that when it was time for the bill to come, it was a weird energy shift, and it took me a second to realize what that energy shift was, and it was like, oh, this nigga think I'm finna pay, you know what I mean? And so I didn't even recognize it, and so I think that happened one time, but it wasn't a date, it was like
But did you
friends.
pay? Did you pay?
I paid for my drink, and then I never talked to him again, and I blasted him on YouTube, and that's just how that's how the game, chalk it up to the game.
Damn, one drink. It wasn't even a meal, Kel. It was just a drink.
No, it was drinks. It was like 2 drinks and maybe like an appetizer, and then it got split. And then and the man had the balls to ask me to hook him up with one of my friends. I said, "Brother, I'm not hooking you up with any of my friends because one, you're cheap. Okay, so look, you can't ask somebody to hook you up with my good looking friends. Look at my friend Fleurette. You want me to hook you up with my friend, and you can't pay
Not,
for a drink,
not cheap ones.
be lonely if it's up to me." So after that, I never talked to him again. You're not getting me to hook you up with my friends, and you can't pay for 2 drinks and an appetizer. You mad?
Lord, Lord.
Uh-uh.
I'm not gonna lie. He should, because he's the one that was like, oh, I'm in your area.
Thank you. And it was a friends, and it was platonic, but I don't play like that. If you don't have money, stay your ass in your house. Don't ask me to put on my clothes and brush up my nice hair and step out, say I'm your friend, and then ask me if I could hook you up with my girlfriends and not pay for my drink. It will never happen again. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's my attitude. Take it
that's
or
understandable. That one there, I understand. We've got a question here. It's pre-vids. Are you guys trying to date now? Are you in relationships? I'm not trying to date. I'm not actively dating. Like, I'm not going out of my way to be like, I'm looking for a guy. I'm like, nah, I'm just like living my life, trying to not
yeah.
catch corona, and just doing me.
Yeah. I don't think that the energy, right? One thing about my spirituality that's really blossomed recently is trusting my intuition and trusting the cycles of nature. If we have a virus that is out here catching and killing millions of people globally, right now doesn't feel like the time to be interacting with strangers. You feel
Okay,
me?
to be close up.
So you have to follow your intuition. I feel like humanity is so disconnected from cycles of nature and our own intuition that we don't realize what God and what spirit and what nature is trying to tell us. What is nature telling us right now? If not, sit your ass in the house. What is going on? It means sit down and relax and move into the next chapter with ease. You know what I mean? And so for me right now, it does not feel like the time that I should be trying to be on. First of all, I don't online date, but right now for me would not be the time for me to try to run down a relationship because the climate is not that. You know what I mean? And then somebody else said, I learned to be more feminine in my platonic relationships. Absolutely. Leave space for that softness. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times in the capitalism and just chasing the bag and this work and hustle culture, we squeeze out softness and femininity and listening to try to be aggressive and go-getters. And I think we need to hold space for that softness and that and the attributes that women bring to the table naturally, but sometimes it's seen as not valuable, but it is. It is.
Yeah.
What up?
Yeah. So dating during COVID, it's not the one. Yeah, the Netherlands are open. A lot of countries are open. Dutch, all them countries up there, Sweden,
How?
all of them, they never even went to quarantine. Some of them
Why?
countries up there.
How? Numbers? How? What's going on over there in Europe? Why aren't they shut down? How come?
That's just up there. Up, them people up further up north up there, they do their own thing. I don't know. I don't know. But they say that it's not that much. But then I don't know because also their population is much smaller than countries like the UK and France and Spain and things like that. So I haven't been looking at the poll, the number of deaths. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are still dating. I think, like for instance, like the last week Saturday, I had someone hit me up that I was like talking to last year, you know, not interested in him, so I blocked him, this and that. But this guy fully FaceTimed me using his email address because you can FaceTime with like your phone number or your email address. So that's why I thought you FaceTime me because I saw my phone and it said KE something, and I was like, oh, Kells FaceTime me, and I was sleeping. Remember, I texted you and I said, oh, I was like sleeping, and you was like, I didn't. Oh, okay, I didn't know I FaceTimed you.
It was him.
Then like a few days, like for real. So his name's Kenny. So a few days later, I was going through my like calls because I was looking for a number. Then I saw Kenny, and his email address. Then I was like, oh, he was the one that FaceTime
That's
like
what I
at
was.
11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, because I was like, I didn't FaceTime you, but okay, maybe my nephew got my phone or my niece, and did something on my phone. But
Yeah.
I was okay. It was Kenny.
But I'm
So
like, it was
I
Kenny.
Kenny was trying to slide in the DM in the FaceTime at 11 o'clock at
Because
night.
Kenny is blocked on Instagram, Kenny is blocked on Twitter, Kenny is blocked on WhatsApp. Because for me personally, when I'm done with a person, I don't entertain you. There's none of this. You're gonna be pre my socials now. I don't want you in my life at all. You're done. So that's all done with. I didn't even understand why he would call at that time of the night. But it's one of those ones. Coronavirus, you're lonely.
Everybody's
But
trying
I'm a.
to everybody's trying to create. Now is not the time. Hello, we're supposed to be on
Don't call me
quarantine,
when you're lonely, because I'm gonna cuss you out. So that's that.
and you're good for that. You will cut out, girl. All right, Kenny tried it. They said Kenny tried it. Yeah. Any thaughts on
Sure.
Bumble? Do you know that app Bumble where the woman has to swipe first? And I know we're not on online dating, but do you know that concept? Somebody had a question about that Bumble.
See, I've been on Bumble, but I've been on the friendship side because there's a friendship Bumble and there's a dating. So I
Ooh,
went on the friendship one.
how was that?
I already know the other one, but I'm not here for it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Girl, I think that's it for the questions that we have. We have some
Yeah.
people. Priscilla Priv says she's on Bumble now and she hates it. Um, I'm not on any of those, but maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe one of you guys will tell me a good one and I'll actually go. But I'm not on any of it. Any of it. I don't know. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for it to be clear to me. You know what I mean? So right now it's foggy, so that I can sit down and chill and all of that. So anyway, I think that's it for our conversation, girl. Give me your closing remarks, darling. Give me your closing.
Gilbert Arenas is trash. He's still trash.
One.
I'm not messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
Black women are beautiful. Dark skin is beautiful. And black men, we need to respect. You guys need to respect black women. We need to respect each other.
Period.
Okay. Okay. If we're gonna fight this war of inequality and racism and continue the black race. Okay. And Adam from LaToya, your video was messy. That's my opinion. It was insightful, but it was messy. You
Okay.
should have written a little statement, a little cute statement, and left it to that. That's just me.
Period. Period. Okay, I'm gonna give my 3 closing statements. Lord, I wasn't prepared for this. Okay. My one is that quitting culture, stop quitting before you even really tried. Please. Everything is not easy. Most things, most benefits in life come through going through the hardship and coming out triumphant on the other side of it. And so contrary to popular belief, I know you guys think everything looked easy and fun. It's actually hard. So if you just come to the understanding that, oh shoot, this is actually hard, I need to navigate through it for the rewards on the other side, that is a better approach to life than running through and quitting because somebody hurt your feelings or something was hard. You know what I mean? The hard lessons grow most. That's 1. 2, there is a diversity in the Black experience. With all this kind of revolution and Black Lives Matter stuff, I'm reading some stories of some experiences that Black people have had globally, and a lot of them I haven't really had. So on one side, I'm like, damn, am I naive? And then on the other side, I'm like,
1 minute remaining.
okay, why is things so different for me? So there is a diversity in the Black experience. And 3, thank you guys so much for joining us, Fleurette. I love these conversations. I know it's pretty late in the UK now, but you guys continue to rock with us and follow us on YouTube as well as here on IG. And this has been fun. Let's just chat. Let's just talk episode 2.
Yes, and make sure you tune in, not next week, but the week after for more topics. And if you have any questions, make sure you hit us up and comment. And yes, let's talk with La Fleurette and it's Kells. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye,
See you
guys.
guys. Stay safe.
Yes, please do that. Bye. Bye.